from a very big perspective, let's talk about what are the reasons why one might want to go from the Google Apps Standard Edition, which is free and for up to 50 users, and as we've seen in the past 4 sessions, a very powerful software solution, and migrate to Premiere. And so if we return to our scenario that we've been sort of tinkering around with and touching on from time to time of Coffee Kooks Club, we might be confronted with problems that would sort of stretch our definition of what a club is. You know, we're growing. If, for example, we had people who wanted to give us money for some reason or another. Like if we have a newsletter that we've created on Google Docs and people want to advertise in it, then suddenly somebody might want to give us money, and then we have to now we go from being a club or a small group to a business, you know, and we need to start tracking expenses. You know, for that, that's a sort of situation in terms of the life cycle of an organization where the more powerful tools that you would get through the pay product of Google Apps Premiere are going to be useful and reasonable to you. And certainly, I'm being very, very high level here, but ideally, your organization that you use for Google Apps would be bringing in money in order for you to justify moving from a free to a paid solution. Generally, if you are just indeed a coffee tasting club or some other interest group, the free solution will be more than adequate to handle your needs. But let's assume that we're moving into something else. One of the things that Apps Premiere gives you, which in my experience as somebody who has spent a lot of time in small businesses, is the most powerful feature that Google Apps Premiere gives you is guaranteed uptime. And guaranteed uptime is described in percentage terms of the percentage of a year, how much time how much time does your application vendor guarantee that you will receive. And in a small business environment, you'll very frequently have, an in-house Microsoft Exchange server that your organization, maybe you have, tech people on staff who have a room full of servers, or maybe you've got a couple of servers to host your email and your, document sharing. For a server you might have like somebody who comes in every couple of weeks to maintain your infrastructure. When you're in an environment like that where you're essentially rolling your own infrastructure, your uptime is going to tend to be lower than a professional grade solution like Google Apps. And Google Apps specifically promises for Premier Edition users an uptime of 99.9%. And some of you may already be familiar with the difference between 90, 99, 99.9 and the famous 5 nines of 99.999%. But I just really quick for small business people who haven't necessarily thought through that, I want to just run a couple of numbers inside of Google Spreadsheets. And so I just command clicked or control clicked for the PC on my Google Docs symbol here, which created a new Google Docs tab, and here we see my files. And I'm going to click the drop box and then command click again on Spreadsheet, which will open up a new spreadsheet for me. And so what I'd like to do here is just talk a little bit about, in terms of hours per year, what these different, types of uptime will give you. So if we start off with an uptime of 99%, we can think about, how many hours are there, or how many days are there in a year. There's 365. And how many hours are there in a day? There's 24. So if we want to say how many hours per year, we could create a little Google spreadsheet or Excel formula to multiply these two together. And because this is, well, because I was going to say because it's a web application, this is slow. It's actually not working because I didn't enter the right cell ranges. So there are 8,760 hours in a year. I'm just going to move this information down here. So for 99% uptime, I could create a cell for down hours. And if I multiplied C4 of 99% times C17, I would see that actually I want to multiply it by I want to multiply 1 minus C4 because 99% uptime means 1% downtime. And so what a 99% uptime, even though that sounds pretty nice, translates in real terms into 88 hours of downtime per year. And if you are a serious business concern, 88 hours of downtime could begin to mean substantial revenue. So, 95, 99% uptime. If you're like me and you're running a blog and people aren't transacting money on it, well, then, maybe it probably isn't worth more to pay to move from 99% to, 5 nines. But, if for a business, 88 hours of downtime could be killer. And generally, nobody is going to tell you in advance when that downtime will come. So let's take a look at 99.9% and 99.999%. I'm just copying this formula over. And we can see that for 99.9%, the downtime for the course of a year is 9 hours. And it's actually quite a bit less than 0 hours per year for the 5 nines. So you get 3 nines when you upgrade to Google Apps Premier. That doesn't necessarily mean that Google Apps Standard Edition won't be up for 100% of a given year. It might never go down. But with Premier, you have this guarantee of the 3 nines. And if people are giving you money and you are a business, then you have to calculate the value of that guarantee. And I think certainly when you compare it to an alternative solution like hosting your in-house Exchange server, I think that it's extremely compelling. And in fact, I'm working for a new company. I started yesterday, and the company's called Blue State Digital, and they use Google Apps Premier for this and among many other reasons. And so this reason, the guaranteed uptime is, I'm just going to go ahead and close these windows, is for me, I believe it's one of the most compelling reasons. And yet it is one among many, many, many different possible reasons why you might upgrade to Premier. And those reasons typically take the form of added features that Premier gets. And so before we push into video and groups later on, which are really big bucket features, in a couple of seconds, I would like to do sort of a feature-by-feature comparison of Premier and Standard for apps. But since I just sort of went through a learning point, in terms of the differences between guarantees of uptime and no guarantee, maybe this would be a good time to just see if there's any questions about specifically what I just did. Why don't we do that first, and then I'll push on to a little bit more detail about the differences between Premier and Standard.
And did you say the Standard was 99% or 90% uptime?
I don't think there is an uptime guarantee for Standard.
Okay.
And that would have been something nice for me to say. You get the guarantee with Premier, and I don't think that there's a guarantee with Standard. Okay. Now, of course, I mean there's a sort of implicit guarantee when you think of the fact that a large and powerful and reliable company is hosting your stuff, but when it comes, the guarantee becomes important when you're dealing with money.
And we have a request from the chat room if you could just go over that formula that you just.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll go through this. I apologize for closing it real quick. This I think we did a couple of formulas in the second session, and I'll just want to, if you don't mind me taking 2 seconds to plug something else I did. Head First Excel is a book that I wrote. It's extremely formula centric, and so all the formulas that I've done are covered in that book, and all the formulas are, with very few exceptions, pretty much the same between Google Spreadsheets and Microsoft Excel. So an Excel tutorial would be perfectly suitable for learning how to use formulas. So I mean, I'll go through this even more slowly. So if we say, what is our uptime guarantee? We could say 99%. And if I want to calculate, well, what would the downtime from an uptime guarantee of 99% be? I could say downtime. And here I would just do equals 1 minus C4. And the 99% in C4, 99% is the same as 0.99. 1 here represents 100%. So if I do 1 minus C4, I'll get 1%. So then we did, let's see, days per year. Days per year, which we know, I'm just typing that in, we know hours per day, when that's 24. And if I want to do hours per year, I can't type. I can't help you with typing, but I can do formulas. I'll just do equals 365, that's cell C7. I just move my cursor up there and then press the asterisk for multiplication, and then highlighted C8. So this formula is C7 times C8. And then I'll just say actual downtime. And then I want to get the number of or hours down. How about that? And if I want to get that figure, I could just multiply the number of hours in a year, which is cell C9, by downtime. And it's 87.6.0001. And I can go back up here at the very first cell of uptime and put in 95% and see that if we have 95% uptime, we have 438 hours down per year, which is unacceptable. So that's a little bit more slowly how to create those formulas. Are there any more questions about uptime and downtime, or shall I continue on?
I have a couple general questions, but I think that we could get to those after you're finished with this part.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm going to minimize this window, and I'm going to now pull up 2 different Google Apps windows, and I hope you can see it okay. There are, I'm going to try to dismiss these messages. Whoops, I got logged out of Coffee Kooks. Hold on. The one on the Google Apps dashboard that we're looking at on the left here is coffeekooks.com. And this is the dashboard that, that we've been playing with for the past couple of weeks. I, a couple of days ago, went ahead and upgraded the account from Google Apps Standard, which was free, to the Google Apps Premier. And I'll just say that, if you already have, and I hope you have, created a Google Apps Standard installation for yourself, it really is no big deal at all to take advantage of the trial for Google Apps, which I think is for 30 days, for Google Apps Premier. And basically, you get on the website and just enter in your credit card information, and you'll almost immediately go live on Google Apps Premier. And as long as you disable it before the 30 days is due, you won't get charged at all. And I certainly have faith in this because we have 50 users or 48 users in this account, and Google Apps Premier costs $50 per user, so I'll be charged almost $2,500 if I don't cancel this trial in time. So like I've done this many times before. I feel comfortable doing it. If you're interested in playing around with this, by all means, take advantage of the trial and go ahead. But just an aside for you. On the right, what we have here is michaelmilton.net, which is the Google Apps installation that I associated with my personal web domain. And currently, this installation of Google Apps is in standard mode. And what I'm going to do is show you a page on Google Apps Premier, and then show you on the left, which is for Coffee Kooks, and then on the standard edition, which is on the right. You may have also noticed, especially if you've been playing around in Google Apps on your own, that there's this Google Apps is changing dialog that pops up. There was a blog about it, I think on September 8th, a little bit earlier this month, and Google is going to start unrolling pretty much their entire suite of Google programs, things like Picasa and Blogger and Orkut and all of these different programs that that are historically available to you with a standard Google account, but don't necessarily apply for Google Apps. Google is going to start migrating all that stuff to Google Apps. So how that actually plays out is, we can only guess, but it'll be really interesting to see how that all works. So you're getting a bunch of messages nowadays like this telling you to get ready. So anyhow, left side Google Apps Premier, right side Google Apps Standard. The initial sort of start page isn't that different. You can see on the left-hand side there is, but the initial dashboard is not that different. You can see that we have a video inside of Google Apps Premier, which we don't have inside of Google Apps Standard. I actually still have Yindo installed over here in Google Apps Standard. We're going to actually deal with Yindo a little bit later. That's a marketplace application that we can easily load whether we're inside of Standard or Premier. And then there's Groups, which is something you can create at the administrator level inside of Google Apps Standard, but not something that's user managed. And we'll talk about what that means in our last section today. But basically what you want to do once you get Premier loaded for the first time is take a look at the options of some of these advanced tools. Basically, actually before I get to advanced tools, I'm gonna just go left to right. You can see over here I have organizations and users as my second tab, and then groups as my third tab, and over in the standard edition it's different. We just have users and groups. And that's because there's something that Google Apps Premier adds to the functionality you have at your disposal, which is sub-organizations. And a sub-organization is just like a managerial hierarchy. So if you're in a company and you have a marketing department and a sales department and a finance department, this organization feature inside of Premier allows you to keep your users organized by those departments. And what it means specifically when you create sub-organizations, which I'm not going to do here, is for each sub-organization you get a services screen like this. So you have the ability to turn on and off all of the different Google applications. So if you for people at different tiers of your organizational hierarchy. So if you don't want your salespeople having chats with each other inside of Google Talk, you can turn that off. So the organizational element is one of the things that Premier offers that Standard does not. Now let's go ahead and proceed over here to Advanced Tools. And if we look at Advanced Tools, I got logged out of this too, hold on. If we look at Advanced Tools, over here on the right side, Standard Edition, there really isn't a lot of stuff, and the tools are much more extensive for systems administration in the Premier version. And I'm not going to go into much detail on all of these, but there's a few of them that I want to draw to your attention. One of them is really, really neat. I think it's neat. Under authentication, there are a bunch of different things that you can do to make your authentication more secure. And the second and third one are the ones I want to draw your attention to. Two-step verification is an authentication mechanism that requires something you know and something that you have. In fact, if you read books on security, you know that the most secure authentication mechanisms require something you know, something you have, and something you are. So something you know might be a password, something you have might be a key fob, and something you are might be, say, a retinal scan. So if you have crazy security, that's what it'll look like. This isn't three-step verification, it's two-factor is the term that most people use, but Google calls it two-step. This will require of your users a password and a token that they receive on their phone. So what they know is their password, and what they have is actually their phone. So if I turn on two-factor authentication, then when my users log on, not only will they enter a password, but Google will send them a code on their phone, which they will then have to type in. It's a randomly generated code that's different every time they use it. And so somebody who stole a phone wouldn't necessarily be able to log in unless they knew the password. And if you knew the password but didn't possess that user's phone, you wouldn't be able to get in either. So it's a slightly more sophisticated security authentication protocol, which I just think it's cool. We also have an advanced password settings screen, and so if I want to have long passwords obligatory among all of my users, I could force them all to have 10 or 20 character passwords. This is something that you just don't have when you're dealing inside of Google Apps Standard. There are also a bunch of usage and reporting views, and if I click on this, I can see a bunch of statistics about what my users are up to. And it's actually kind of interesting. It looks like we have quite a lot more email usage than I was expecting, but hey, why not? So this reporting stuff you don't get inside of Google Apps Standard. So if you're just if you click through, you can find a bunch of pieces of information about your users. I'm going to scroll down and point to two different items that Google Apps Premier gives you that will be interesting to you if you are in a situation like what I was describing in terms of having an Exchange server on a locally hosted server and want to migrate entirely over to Google Apps. There is an IMAP migration utility. IMAP is a protocol for authenticating email accounts and transmitting emails that makes it really easy for you to migrate emails from an Exchange server or another program that uses IMAP into your apps accounts. So if you have a bunch of users, you don't have to lose all of your historical archival email. You can just bring them into Google Apps using this IMAP migration tool. There is a desktop utility that you get in the standard edition that you can download, but it's decidedly less powerful. And then there's another feature that I'm actually I can't remember where it is buried in underneath all of these different options, but basically you can restrict IMAP and POP access for your Google Apps installation. So if I don't want my Gmail users to be able to download their entire email system onto a local device, onto their computer, for example, because I consider the emails to be sensitive or because I'm not allowed to for compliance reasons, you can actually restrict users' ability to download their email in bulk. Getting to email, in fact, actually that particular option may be under email settings. If you look at most of the individual applications, I'll back up a little bit. If you look at Calendar and Docs and Sites, those applications are all pretty much the same on both Google Apps Premier and Google Apps Standard. But if you switch over to email, you can see over here on the right-hand side you have a couple of options, and within email there's a much longer list. So again, you can, there are all sorts of different things that you can restrict about your user's ability to manipulate the emailing system. So I'm not going to go through each one of these. Some of them are highly technical. Here's that pop and IMAP disabling ability. But you should know that it's definitely, if you're thinking about migrating to Google Apps Premier, something to consider. You get a whole lot more customization over your email settings and your ability to control your users' email behaviors, relative to the other applications inside of Google Apps when you migrate to Premier. So that was just a little walkthrough of the dashboard to compare Premier and Standards. Standard Edition, there's so much in there. I hope you could see me scrolling around. There's just lots and lots and lots of little bells and whistles that Google added, and it's actually kind of makes it difficult for me to figure out exactly how to frame it. My personal belief is that the guaranteed uptime is, for business purposes, the most compelling reason to upgrade. And of course, it may be that some of these other features that I've touched on and have yet to touch on will also be, a compelling reason in and of itself to upgrade.